Pardon the interruption. I'm Owen, the host, here with Jacob and Caden to talk about who we think is better. So on one side, Joe Burrow, the other side, Justin Herbert. How would you feel about those two, Jacob?
Well, personally, I have Joe Burrow higher on my list. I get that the eye test and the arm talent and the potential for Justin Herbert, but winning for Joe Burrow with a Bengals team that no one thought going into the season was going to succeed and take them all the way to the Super Bowl, and they were mere seconds away from winning, is incredible, especially for a team like the Bengals and a quarterback that is in only his second year. He tore his ACL his first year and then came back and won Comeback Player of the Year. The eye test you can say all you want, but he led the league in completion percentage, QBR, and touchdowns with most touchdowns past 20 yards.
Caden, you heard that. How do you feel about him?
So I will say, although they're both great quarterbacks, and they're both easily top 10 quarterbacks this year in fantasy football-wise and skill-wise, Justin Herbert has the same situation as Joe Burrow. Like, you'd be lying if you said you thought the Chargers were going to go all the way to the Super Bowl last year. So although Burrow did that, Herbert can easily do the same thing. And the Chargers with a much improved team, especially this coming year with a new, better defense, the Chargers can take more pressure off take more pressure off Herbert, and Herbert can easily improve upon his great receiving year so far. He also has a new contract for his wide receiver, Mike Williams, so Williams will be more involved in the Chargers' success. Keenan Allen's always been a consistently top 10 fantasy wide receiver and skill-wise wide receiver. I see him continuing to do that. Their only real problem is now on tight end because their offensive line's even upgraded. So as soon as I can figure out their tight end problem, I think the Chargers have a top 5 offense in the NFL.
Thank you both. Now let's hear our quick rebuttals.
Well, I would say to that is that even though, people didn't expect, the Chargers to go to the Super Bowl, a lot of people were saying that, they can make a playoff push, they can get to the playoffs, they can get somewhere near there. But everyone was saying Bengals going to win 4 games, Bengals going to win 3 games. They don't even know why.
Well, that was preseason.
That was preseason. But that means he had no expectations and blew it out of the water. If you have that kind of potential to, prove the doubters wrong and eventually move on from what you're being criticized for, people calling you overrated, calling you a bust for being the first round draft pick, and then do what you just did, I think that automatically makes you a top 10, maybe even top 5 quarterback.
He's saying Joe Burrow's top 5 quarterback. What do you think?
I think he's top 5. I think Herbert's top 1. Herbert is the best quarterback in the NFL. He has, although not the greatest accuracy, he doesn't have a deep threat like Jamar Chase to really go down there. Williams is boom or bust, and Williams is always locked down because he's not fast. Jamar Chase is an extremely, extremely talented wide receiver, so Burrow has the advantage in that retrospect. But in terms of all of his weaponry, Herbert has made great use of that with a 5,000 passing yard season just his second year, which is top 5 among all NFL seasons. The only quarterback to have a season in the top 10 based on passing yards that is not in the Hall of Fame or a first ballot Hall of Famer is Justin Herbert. It is Tom Brady, Dan Marino, Drew Brees, Justin Herbert. And Herbert is in an elite class with that. Herbert is also way more mobile than Burrow, although I think Burrow can be more mobile, but that's where the ACL tear comes into play. But I think although Herbert bounced back from that, there's only so much you can do with an injury that substantial, and Herbert has the advantage there, and I think he has the advantage in passing. So altogether, Herbert's the better quarterback.
I respect your opinion, but I disagree.
Thank you guys both for that. Our next topic will be what are our Super Bowl picks.
Oh, please.
All right, so I'll start this time. I guess ladies first, as you would say.
Yes, ladies first.
So
Age before beauty.
Okay. So, I don't know how to start. All right, so my Super Bowl pick is, of course, the LA Chargers. They've only upgraded on both sides of the ball, unlike no other team besides my Philadelphia Eagles. The Chargers have, like I said before, great receiving core. They have great receiving running backs in Austin Eckler. The run game is a force to be reckoned with. And now ever mobilizing quarterback in Justin Herbert. He has been on a roll. The defense, J.C. Jackson, Khalil Mack, both tremendous additions. J.C. Jackson being slept on unbelievably. Khalil Mack continues to be bounced around. He's going to have a massive chip on his shoulder. Because if you can remember, the first season after he got traded from now the Las Vegas Raiders to the Chicago Bears, he dominated offenses, he dominated offensive lines, and he's going to do the same thing for the LA Chargers. The Chargers were already a borderline double-digit win team last year. I think they can easily get to 12, 13 wins this year with an easier schedule.
So, Jacob, he's got the Chargers. Who do you got? I think I got a feeling who it's going to be, but
I do, in fact, have my Cincinnati Bengals going all the way without bias because of their offseason moves, improving their offensive line, which was the weakest part of their team. Their defense came up clutch this year. Zach Taylor is a terrific head coach. Joe Burrow, as proven, can move the ball all over the field no matter where he's going. With T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd, which is undoubtedly the best wide receiver core in the NFL. They also brought in Hayden Hurst, who was an underrated tight end who had a 900-yard receiving season a couple seasons ago. And I think Joe Burrow will be able to get the ball to him. Also, Joe Mixon is a top 10 running back, and he was second in the league in rushing yards last year and will only get better behind a great offensive line. The defense can be worked on a little bit, but based on what we saw last year with, making clutch plays deep in games, with, getting an interception against the Raiders, Titans, and Chiefs late in games and early in overtime, they are very capable of stopping pretty much any offense they go against. And as long as the offensive line and the offense stays up, I think they have a very good chance.
Thank you guys both for that. Let's now go with our 20-second rebuttals.
So I could see that easily with the defense, the Bengals defense like that. But again, the Chargers defense was already a top 10 defense last year, and their offense was arguably a top 10 offense as well. And again, for the third time that I mentioned, both sides have gotten better, meaning they could have a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense this year if everyone puts the full work in.
And that's our time there. 20 seconds for you.
I completely agree with that statement about how they're improving everywhere and how they're making a brilliant offseason moves. But you're forgetting one thing. Their coach, Brandon Staley, fumbled the bag against the Raiders. He called timeout with 20 seconds left in overtime. Both teams would have made the playoffs. And if you make such a blunder like that, I don't think that you can get your team all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. Zach Taylor made very little mistakes. He brought a struggling Bengals team to the promised land. I think that the Bengals have everything needed to do it, and I think Brandon Staley is going to be the ultimate thing that is going to ruin the Chargers this year.
Thank you guys both for that. That was our PTIs.